I'm dying to know what is in your playbook. First of all, in my mind, there's probably X's and O's and arrows, but I need to know specifically what are some of the essential elements that you must have in place.
We have to change our mindset.
Okay.
We have to change our mindset because learning is one piece of the puzzle. We are not standalone. What we do is not something that is just learning and development. We are connected.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Kirkpatrick Podcast. It's Vanessa and my favorite human, Jim. Hey, Jim, how are you?
I was fine until you said that. Now I don't know how to live up to that expectation. I will do my best.
Well, we also have a very, you know what? I'm here for the laughs and the fun. We are here though today with our dear friend Aurora Seguinot Cruz, and she is going to be talking all about a blended evaluation playbook. Playbook is kind of a buzzword, so I'm really excited that we are utilizing that. And having a conversation, because I think a playbook, we all think of a sports team and how they do so well. And it's really about having tips and strategies in the moment to be able to navigate whatever challenge they have in front of them. And in this case, blended evaluation. So we are going to be introducing first Aurora. So prior to joining USCIS, Aurora was a program manager from 2011 to 2013 at the Office of Training and Development in Customs and Border Protection in Washington, D.C. From 2002 to 2011, she was in the Transportation Security Administration, or as we all love to say, TSA, in the Miami International Airport in Florida, which I have just learned is 45 minutes down the road for me. At TSA, Aurora served in a variety of training and leadership positions, including training instructor, development project manager, lead transportation security officer, supervisory security officer, and transportation security manager. Have you done almost all the roles? Aurora has a Master of Science degree in organizational performance and workplace learning, all from my dear friends at Boise State University, and a Bachelor of Arts degree in organizational management from Ashford University. She served as adjunct professor at Boise State University in 2017 and grad student coach from 2017 to 2019. Aura published articles in 2020 and 2014 in the International Society for Performance Improvement, ISPI, and the topics of learning, development, and performance in the workplace. Aura, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I am fine, and thank you. It is an honor to be here with both you and Dr. Kirkpatrick.
Yes, of course. Well, we're just so happy that you were able to take a little bit of extra time with us. Aurora served as one of our speakers at the summit back in June, and we were just so excited to hear more about and wanted to share more of her work and her playbook. So, Aurora, can you tell us a little bit more about your background and your introduction to Kirkpatrick Partners and the Kirkpatrick Model?
Yes. Actually, it was when I first started at USCIS in 2013. There was one of the employees there, her focus was evaluation. And I wanted to find out more about it. I talked to her, and she was kind enough to explain to me about Kirkpatrick. And I was not familiar with the Kirkpatrick model, although I have heard of Kirkpatrick before. And because of her, I became involved in Kirkpatrick. I immediately the year after decided to become bronze level certified. And my experience in the bronze certification training process was so eye-opening. I was floored. I said, I should have known this before. I should have done this before, because I found the model to be both extremely simple to understand and also applicable across all organizations, all agencies.
Amazing. I love that you shared how simple and applicable it is. I think, Jim, you hear it often. Level 4 is really hard, or level 3 is really hard. I don't understand how to get there. And I sometimes wonder if we stop to take a beat and a moment to really look at it in a different light or with someone else? Does it make it a little bit more easier to understand? And, we kind of break away from all of the confusion or like all of that mind clutter that we have going on. And so, yeah, I love that. And I love that you said it's applicable no matter, what it is that you are evaluating, right? So we are very much niched in training evaluation, but the fact is it could really be applied in so many different areas. Can you share a little bit more about your work with blended evaluation plans and how it can reveal key opportunities for organizational enhancement, drawing from your own experiences?
Yes, ma'am. It will be my pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
I work at USCIS, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. And in that role, I was hired to manage an agency-wide mentoring program. Actually, I created the agency-wide mentoring program there. And currently, the agency has about 21,000 employees. At the time when I started, it was about 15,000 or so. And what I needed to do was first, before I started creating the program, I wanted to find out what the needs were. So I needed to find a way to acquire data, information from a place that I was new, in a culture that I was new, in an agency that I was new. And I acquired the assistance of different SMEs, subject matter experts, and I talked to them about their needs. And I decided to start using Kirkpatrick. And that was my first utilization of Kirkpatrick Model. And I went out and I created a survey. And I made sure that I had those questions that were pertinent to the workforce to identify a need. So that's an example of using Kirkpatrick for actually identifying a need, as opposed to the end goal, right? Which is to level one, create an environment where you are sure that you are helping employees learn and acquire that information and keep those skills and develop those skills and go further into those skills and actually ultimately using them on the job to change behavior, which is important. And of course, changing behavior means that the organization will be able to reach their goals, retention, increased performance, employee engagement, for instance, which are three of the goals at USCIS. So that was my first experience. And that experience itself not only helped me understand that, yes, Kirkpatrick could be used for almost any situation, but also it could be fluid. You can actually take pieces, whether you used level one or level two, or let's say your needs are something else. You want to use a Kirkpatrick for behavior change. You want to identify, are the skills being utilized on the job? Is there change in behavior? Are there improvements? So that can be used as well. I try to use Kirkpatrick for everything, but most of my utilization is 1, 2, and 3. I do use it for level 4, but it depends on what the needs are at the time.
That's an interesting distinction. I know one, Jim, you make often, not the belief that everything has to be evaluated at level 4, which I think is kind of controversial. Jim, you want to expand a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Well, I was a little surprised. First of all, pleased with everything you said, and thinking, wow, I get to, it's going to be hard for me to interview you because I'm sitting here taking notes and learning from you. But I can multi or dual task anyway. But you said you deal mostly with level 3. But I also heard you say earlier than that, you're dealing with performance, behaviors, and improvements. Okay. I heard you say that, which tells me that performance behavior is level 3, but improvements are level 4. So you may not think that you're doing a whole lot with level 4, but it's to us, it's a natural progression when you are doing your mentoring, when you're doing your coaching, when you are helping with behaviors, helping drive the behaviors and performance. The natural offshoot of that, the byproduct, are improvements because the behaviors doing their job will lead to that. So my guess is there's a whole lot of improvements that you over the years have been contributing to that are not separate from level 3. It's level 3 and level 4 together. And all maybe the missing ingredient is you aren't tracking in most situations what those improvements are going up towards the mission. But you believe me, you may not. You're selling yourself short when saying you're not doing that much with level 4. It's happening. You may be so busy with level 3, which is the best level to be busy with, in order to really see what those improvements and those leading indicators are. But you are absolutely helping to create those. I want to say one more thing, Aurora.
Yeah.
You use the very common term in our industry as SMEs, subject matter expert, right? We officially commonly refer to them as SMEs. Now, SMEs to me are the people in the workplace, line manager, supervisor, that are crossing into the learning world to help provide information, subject matter information that should be taught. I think that's the typical way to do it. Now, and it's good that we use subject matter experts to make sure that what we're training is in alignment with the performance needs. Do you know what you are? You are a PME. I don't know if anyone's ever called you that.
No.
You are a performance management expert. What you're doing is you are returning the favor rather than always saying, oh, subject matter expert, come and help us with our learning and our training. You are someone that says, I am going to come to you and return the favor and help you with performance management, because not all the line managers and supervisors are expert at that, or sometimes they don't even really pay much attention to it. So you are returning the favor. And I think that's a really, really neat thing that you're doing, especially with your mentoring. That's PME, performance management expert. If you're guiding that, it's all about the level 3. And so you're my PME from now on.
All right. Thank you so much. I got a new title I didn't know about.
He's good at that. He gives out a lot of new titles for folks. Was it Learning and Performance Architect? Was one that you gave someone in a class. So he's ripe for new job titles and new acronyms that when he says it, I'm like, wait, what? What is it going to be? Like GRAI is one that you came up with.
Right. Yeah, but you know that stuff, I don't think about that stuff. It just pops up in conversation with you, Vanessa, with Aurora, where, wow, it's so obvious. And it's simple, because believe me, Kirkpatrick Model is simple because Don and Jim Kirkpatrick were very, very simple people. You know, we weren't into the complex world of different things. It just wasn't where we were. We were into the world of people and keeping things simple. So that, Aurora, when you say it's simple, that's where it came from too. I'm not sure I should call it myself simple-minded, but, kind of simple in concept.
We know what you mean. Yeah. And, I appreciate what you shared earlier too, that I wanted to just call out as a distinction before we dive more into the specifics of your playbook. But one of the things that I heard you say was, it's all about helping employees. And I heard the distinction you made. Yes, it's for the business or the organization, but it's really also about the employees, right? Because I think that there's, other models and things out there that are more just business focused, as opposed to understanding that it has to be both. The business needs to win and the employees need to win, right? Because if the employees are doing their things at level 3, they're happier, they're more productive, they are more efficient in their work. They want to come, right? They want to be a part, and they want to be a part of your training programs and your initiatives, because they know they're going to get good results, and then the business sees that impact as well. So I really appreciated you sharing that experience and that distinction. So tell me, I'm dying to know what is in your playbook. First of all, in my mind, there's probably X's and O's and arrows, but I need to know specifically what are some of the essential elements that you must have in place in your playbook.
I would say essential element number 1 is start with the end in mind. You have to start with what are the desired metrics. That is the first, in my opinion, the first little X in the playbook, since you've used football term, is X and zeros. But let's say getting out of football in any playbook, start with the end in mind. What is it? It's one of the things that I ask managers and supervisors when they come to me for help. what is it you're trying to achieve? What is the desired goal? So that's the number one in the playbook. If you don't have that, you don't have a playbook. And number two would be to identify who are the stakeholders, key stakeholders, because you're going to need the support of leaders in order to accomplish it and in order to gain the support of SMEs, employees that are going to be involved in the whole process from start to finish. The third would be to, once you identify the key elements or the key metrics and stakeholders, just make sure you ask the right questions. You have to start creating or selecting the methodologies that you're going to use. Kirkpatrick always, in the playbook that I use for the USCIS programs, I typically use Kirkpatrick. I use Brinkerhoff's success case method. And I also use Takara's, I believe, which are known as the 5 whys. The 5 whys is in the beginning because I want to help identify the cause. Oftentimes, what happens is that leaders, of course, they're concerned about the metrics, they're concerned about performance and engagement, and they kind of assume that the problem is, all right, it's training. That's the default. The problem is training. And oftentimes it's actually the opposite. The problem is not training, it's something else. It's either a systemic issue within the culture, within the processes, within something that is blocking the employees from achieving their goals, or that is negatively impacting their engagement. And that's one of the reasons why I start with the 5 whys, to try to slice into what the core cause is first. Because when you're better prepared with the cause, you know what the cause is, then you have more information, which is going to be useful down the road and throughout the process to create the right questions in the survey. And if you ask the right questions, you get the right data. If you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to get data that's going to be relevant. And the other item would be to use Brinkerhoff's success case method, because I do believe that conducting interviews, comparing successes with non-successes and making that comparison and finding out why is extremely important. That was very helpful for me when I created a new program. New supervisors were, after I started, asked me, well, why don't we have a mentoring program for just new supervisors? And I'm like, okay, well, why do you need a mentoring program for new supervisors? And I received this request from more than one person. So I decided, let me look into this, because there's a frequency here. And when I looked into it, I found out that new supervisors felt that they went to training and they wanted to go through training, and they got their training with, more technical training as opposed to soft skills. But they felt that once they started on their job, they felt that they were a little bit, they wanted something else. They wanted a mentor. They wanted a guide. They wanted someone to go to for questions, and also a sounding board. And once I went through the process, I discovered that, yes, there was a need there. And I used 5 whys to ask the questions to be able to understand what the needs were, to be able to then create a program for them.
I appreciate that you really listened and you didn't immediately dismiss the request. And you said, I really want to dig in a little bit more into the why. Luckily, we're not drinking every time we say why. But, I think so often we could almost dismiss it or dive right into, okay, I'm going to go and build, right? You could have uncovered that there wasn't actually a need for it. And so you stopped, you listened, and that, even if, I think even if the people who were making the request, like the new managers or new supervisors, even if the answer would have been, we can't do it right now, or we just don't see it as a need, they would have felt heard. And that would have been, really big for you all and for your department, and it really would have gone a long way, because at least they would have felt heard and known that, okay, maybe this time it didn't make sense and here's the reasons why, but next time there's a request, I know I can come to you to have that conversation and to see if it's something that we could do, as opposed to just getting a not right now, or creating something for the sake of creating something.
Good point.
And one thing I heard, go ahead, Aurora.
No, go ahead.
You used the term blended evaluation playbook. And I just want to point out to everybody that blended evaluation means using multiple tools and multiple methods. Mm-hmm. And typically we use surveys and knowledge tests. And I heard you say when you talk about Brinkerhoff stuff, you interviewed people, mm-hmm. right? Now, you may not have got the numbers, but you surely got information. I just want to point out that Aurora doesn't just talk about blended evaluation, she does it, because using single source, single methods is not going to get you very close to the truth at all. You need to be observing, you need to be talking to people, surveys, testing, all those things. And Aurora, you live it. Now, one other thing I'd like to mention, because you brought it up, you said that X's and O's like a football team, mm-hmm. right? And it just so happens that 20 years ago, we worked with a national football team called the Indianapolis Colts. Mm-hmm. And I got to work with Tony Dungy at the time and Peyton Manning. Mm-hmm. And a conversation that we had, it was very spirited, is I asked Dungy right in front of me, I said, how's it look for this year? He said, oh, good. I said, how's your offense? He said, better than most. I said, how's your defense? He said, worse than most. I said, how's your playbook? He said, everybody has pretty much the same playbook. And then what he said is, the key to the playbook is executing it. And of course he had the best of all time. Peyton Manning could execute and make decisions, game time decisions. Because I used to watch him. He's taking notes all the time and making adjustments. Could you take that a little further into what you do? As the playbook is only as good as making adjustments and making those adjustments based on information that comes to you during the game, during the execution.
Hey, everyone. Before you get to Aurora, I have to jump really quick, but I'm going to let Jim take it from here. I know you're in amazing hands. Aurora, thank you so much for your time. And I cannot wait to catch the rest of the episode and grab some more of your playbook. Talk soon.
Okay. Aurora, do you remember my question of the dynamics of a playbook, not just X's and O's that you must faithfully follow no matter what?
Well, one of the key elements of a playbook is that you have to be able to make shifts even during the process. And the third element of the playbook, which I didn't mention, or I did perhaps, but then went over it, is that the success case method I did use to interview successes in mentoring relationships with successful mentoring relationships, comparing them to unsuccessful mentoring relationships to identify what those problems were. Now, once you have a playbook and you have a kind of like a form to identify those key elements in the process, and you have the process, you also have to have an actionable plan. And that plan also has to be a plan where you are able to make changes even during the entire process. No process, at least in my opinion, when it comes to evaluation, should be so stringent that it's always linear. Processes are not always linear. Sometimes they are linear, sometimes they are not. Even the ADDIE model, for instance, it is designed as a linear process, but sometimes you have to go back. Let's say you start with evaluation, and that is the second element of the process, or third, in your playbook. But then you're understanding from feedback from the target audience that they don't understand the questions. Well, if they don't understand the questions, that means that you have to kind of put a pause on those evaluation questions, go back, revise the questions to make sense to the target audience, because the employees cannot answer a question they don't understand. or they'll answer it and you don't get true data because they are just taking a guess at the answers. So that has happened. There also, in any playbook, the opportunity for a problem, an issue, something that would occur during the process where you have to make changes. Let's say there are a subject matter expert talking about SMEs, and that person is no longer available. And that is the only person in that team that does what they do. Then you may have to look for someone else. You may have to rely on someone else. You may have to talk to leaders and ask them for help, or just continue to move forward without that particular SME. Anything can happen in any process. And in order to execute it properly, you also have to be able to make changes during the process.
Well, I gotta thank you for that. I just sitting on the edge of my chair here, and what you did was describe the difference between a Kirkpatrick model and others that are knockoffs, or just so much of the others do. They want to be measuring what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this happened. We do a smile sheet at the end of the class. Oh, this happened. They did a test at the end. Oh, this happened. 90 days survey to find out if they actually applied it. Not the way we do it at all. And you described it perfectly, that you're not just checking with your model, your words, not just checking what happened, but what is happening at the time, right? During the class, during training, during all elements of performance, fingers on the pulse, rather than get your checkup every once a year. It's continually monitoring the health of the organization and the efforts. And I really appreciate you doing that. Now, I'm going to give you a really tough last question here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot about feeling alarmed about learning and development, talent development, all these things our concern is that there's such an emphasis on learning and developing people, and we don't hear the word performance at all. It's almost separate from the thinking of the people, in my opinion, in our training and learning world. They don't think they're part of that. It's someone else's job. So what we're trying to do is really tout learning and performance. What one bit of information, and now you're not talking to me as much, you're looking right at the camera, talking to everybody who's watching this. What one bit of suggestion and advice can you give them to move from just being learning cost center kind of people into those that are really making an impact?
If I'm going to narrow it down to only one suggestion, I would say we have to change our mindset.
Okay.
We have to change our mindset because learning is one piece of the puzzle. We are not standalone. What we do is not something that is just learning and development. We are connected. We are part of the entire system. We have to think and look at things holistically and understand that everything we do affects everything else. It's similar to a ripple effect. We are just one ripple, but we are connected with the ripple that came before and the ripple that goes after and the other ripples in the same lake or ocean. We have to think that way because what we do in learning to help people learn, develop skills, increase performance, which decreases attrition oftentimes, which increases engagement oftentimes, we are affecting everything else because we are all connected. No one is an island in an organization, is part of one person. Well, each person is part of the entire organization, whether it's a leader, whether it's a person who is just data entry, whether it's a person on customer service, training professional, it doesn't matter. We are all part of one system. Everything we do, we have to connect with performance.
Good.
Because the performance, it affects everyone. And everything we do, we have to do with passion, with dedication, and understanding that what we do matters.
Very good. Good. Very good. I'm just so appreciative of what you've done. And you are an absolute example of it isn't about you. It is about the mission and the people And you are so humble of your own spirit, but you are bold for the mission, aren't you? And bold for lobbying for other people and for the success of organizations. And you just live that. And it's been such a pleasure for Vanessa and I to talk with you. And we'll see you about the next time that we have an opportunity to talk again.
I hope so. It's been a pleasure and honor, sir. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share.
Okay, thank you.